So healthy plants will better resist disease, they'll better resist insect pressure, and they'll better be able to compete with weeds. Having healthy soil structure will help you deal with inclement weather. So, for example, if you have heavy clay soils, you're going to have a lot of issues with water coming and just sitting on top and kind of smothering your plants. So having healthy soil will help you deal with having too much rain, too little rain. If your soil doesn't have a lot of organic matter, it can dry out really quickly, and so it's not as productive in a drought. So there's a lot of reasons why soil are very important, especially for organic production. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about soil properties, and I just want to go over this really quick. This is a little bit technical, but I think it's important. So the structure and composition of soil has to do with how the soil is made up, what's in the soil. So not all soil is the same. So we've got clay particles, we've got silt particles, we've got sand particles, and then we've got organic matter. And so those are the kind of four distinct categories that make up our soils. So, you know, the rock underneath the soil erodes and becomes these little particles. Sometimes that rock is, for example, sandstone, and you get sandier soils. Limestone tends to produce more silt soils. But it's all a matter of what that soil is composed of and what amount. So clay soils, for example, are going to be really, there's some really small particles. So clay soils are really dense. They hang on to nutrients really well, but they can also have a problem with releasing nutrients to plants that need it. Clay soils are also a problem because they can become really compacted. If you've ever had a really hard pan, it's probably because you have a dense clay soil and those tiny particles have just become really compacted, and it's really hard to work the soil and really hard for the roots of the plant to penetrate the soil. Silt is kind of your ideal soil particle. It's somewhere in between a clay and a sand, so it's kind of the medium size, and so silt loam is often thought to be, you know, the ideal growing substrate. And it's kind of got some of the properties of both sand and clay, just kind of the better properties. You know, sand are real big particles, a lot bigger than clay or silt, and so that soil is really easy to work. It drains really well, so you don't have a lot of water sitting on top of your soil. But what you do have is leaching of nutrients. So you go out and apply fertilizer and hope that the plants are taking that up over time. But especially nitrogen leaches really quickly out of sandy soils. So anything that you put in a sandy soil is really mobile. There's not a lot to hang on to what's there. And so it leaches, it goes into the water system really easily. So that all that nitrogen that you just put on it can really easily end up in a creek. So the best way to manage all of those different soil properties is to have good organic matter. And we'll talk a little bit more about organic matter here in a moment, but that's kind of your, silt and organic matter are kind of your ideal substrates for growing healthy plants. Another factor here is soil biology. And soil biology just refers to all the little critters in your soil. So worms, funguses, all the little creatures, all the little microbes that live in your soil. All of that refers to soil biology. And what we want to see in an organic system is biodiversity, which means there's a lot of different species of critters crawling around in your soil. And what that does is helps balance all the bad stuff, all the bad insects, all the bad funguses and diseases. If you have more biodiversity in your soil, it's going to help you. It's going to help balance everything out. A lot of people, in conventional systems, you're putting a lot of chemicals on to kill, everything that's there. And that's, it kills the bad stuff, but it kills the good stuff too. And so often what happens is the bad stuff builds up a tolerance and then comes back and really gets you. But, nature knows how to balance itself. So the more diversity that you have with in your soil, the more it's going to be, the more it's going to ward off bad pests and bad diseases. So, soil chemistry, for the purpose of this talk, I'm just going to have that refer to the soil's pH, so how acidic or how basic the soil is. And so, a pH of 0 is extremely acidic, and then a pH of 14 is very basic. And you want somewhere right in the middle, somewhere around neutral, maybe a little towards the acidic side. So about 6. Bobby, what did you say yours was? 6 is about 6.2. That's pretty ideal for most things. Different plants thrive at different pHs, but most of them, around 6.2, 6.5, somewhere around.
How do you find out your soil pH?
I'm going to talk about that one.
Okay.
So yeah, and I'll talk about how we're going to determine all this here in a little bit too. By the way, if you don't have any questions, feel free to raise your hand during the workshop. We've tried in the past to leave questions till the end, and then everybody forgets them. So if I start talking another language or something you can't understand, just raise your hand and ask me to clarify, and I'll be happy to. Just try to keep the questions geared towards the subject at hand. Is the only thing I would ask. So.